Hey everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Hope your day is going well. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to make a code system in Roblox. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to be doing is creating the leader stats. So what we're going to do is go inside a server script service, insert a brand new script, and we are going to name this leader stats. Now before I forget, let's do it right now. What we're going to do is go to home, game settings, and make sure to check the top two boxes. This will ensure that we have access to data stores. So check those two boxes, hit save, and now let's start scripting the leader stats. So we're going to get the data store service. So local data store service, game get service, data store service. Let's also get the players service. Once we do that, let's initialize a data store. So local player data store service, get data store, and I'm just going to call mine player data. Let's set up our hook. So players.player added :connect, and let's create a new local function called onPlayer added, which is going to take a player as a player, and let's just add onPlayer added just like that. Now back here, we're going to create our leader stats folder. So instance.new folder, and we'll put this in the player, and we'll give it a name of leader stats, just like that. Now I'm going to create 3 more instances. So the first 2 I'm going to create are going to be coins and gems. These are just going to be 2 different types of stats in our game. And then I will create a redeemed codes folder, which will hold all of the codes that the player redeemed. So let's say local coins instance.new int value, and we put that in the leader stats. Coins.name is equal to coins. Coins.value is equal to 0, just like that. I'm just going to copy these 3 lines and then just put one for gems, 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 and gems, just like that. Now let's create the redeemed codes folder. So redeemed codes is instance.new folder, and we'll put this inside of the player, and redeemed codes.name is redeemed codes, just like that. Now let's set up our player data saving. So let's do local success data is equal to pcall function. We'll say return player data store get async player.userid. Now if we have success and the data is there, what we'll do is set the coins.value to data.coins or 0, and we'll set gems.value is equal to data.gems or 0. So we'll create a data table at the bottom. That's where we'll get coins and gems. After that, we'll say if data.redeemed codes. So if we have data for the redeemed codes, we will loop through all of the codes. So data.redeemed codes, and we'll say local code instance is equal to instance.new string value. So for every code that the player redeems, we'll create a string value for it, and we'll say code instance.name is equal to code, which is the name of the code, and code instance.parent. Actually, let me just delete this line and put that here. We'll set to redeemed codes, just like that. Now if we did not have success, all we're going to do is warn failed to load data for, and we'll just do player.name, just like that. Alright, great. Now once we have done that, now we want to save the data when the player leaves. So what we're going to do is say player.ancestry_change :connect function. We'll say if not player is a descendant of the game. So if the player is not in the game anymore, we're going to say local save data is equal to, and this is the data table I was talking about before. We'll set coins to coins.value, gems to gems.value, and then we'll set redeemed codes to an empty table. And then to fill it up, we'll say for_code instance in I pairs redeemed codes :get children. What we'll do is we will insert this into the table. So table.insert save data.redeemed codes and the code instance, just like that. Now let's save it. So local save success, save error is equal to a new p call function. We'll say player data store set async. We'll put the player.user ID and the save data table, just like that. Now, if the data was not saved successfully, then we'll say warn failed to save data for, and player.name, comma, colon, and the save error, just like that. Now, once we do that, we want to set up our player removing function, and for that, all we have to do is I'm just going to copy that, and then I'll just say local function on player removing, which will take player as a player, and I'm just going to paste that exact same thing there. And first, let me just connect it. So players.player removing colon connect on player removing. And what we'll do, so instead of coins, we'll say player.leaderstats.coins.value and player.leaderstats.gems.value. And for here, we'll say player.redeemed codes. And I think that should be that. All right, awesome. Now we are done with our Leaderstats script. All right, so now that we've coded the Leaderstats script, let's start making the GUI. So I'm going to go inside of starter GUI and insert a new screen GUI. Let's name that codes. I'm going to make sure ignore GUI and set is on, reset on spawn is off, and let's set the z-index behavior to global. After that, let's insert a brand new frame. I'm just going to keep the name as frame. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the size to 0.409, 0, 0.414, 0. I think this is a good size. Let's set the position to be centered right on the screen. So 0.5 anchor point will center that directly on the screen. After that, I'm going to add in a UI corner and a UI stroke to make it look cool. So for the UI stroke, I'm going to set it to 0.05, 0. And for the UI stroke, I'm going to set the thickness to 4 and the apply stroke mode to border. I'm also going to change the color to a nice blue. I think this fits the codes theme a little bit better. Now, after that, let's start adding in a couple text labels. So the first text label that I'm going to add, we're going to name it as title. So it's going to just say codes as a title. For the size, let's do 0.313, 0, 0.115, 0. And for the X, I want to center that. And for the Y, let's just do it a little under the very top. So I'll say 0.023. And make sure we have the X anchor point to 0.5. So that is nice. What I'm going to do is copy the color of the UI stroke, paste it in for the color of the text. And I'm just going to go for Doka 1. And let's name this codes. And I'm just going to copy the UI stroke, paste it. Let's make it contextual. We'll make the stroke black, and I'll set the thickness to 2.5. And sometimes when you set the line join mode to round, it can be a little weird when it's small for small text. So I'm just going to set mine to bevel, and that will just ensure, there's no like teeny tiny gaps that are weird with the round UI stroke. Awesome. Now that we are done with that, let's duplicate the title text label, and I'm going to name that to subtitle. Let's set the size to 0.738, 0, 0.191, 0, so a little bigger. And also, speaking of which, let's just select both of these, make the background transparency to 1. In the subtitle for the position, I'm going to set this a little lower, so 0.209. And for the text, I'm going to say find exclusive codes by following us on Twitter, and I'm just going to say @GreenTreeYT, and I can't spell following, so following, just like that. Awesome. So now that we made the subtitle text, now let's get into the actual stuff. So what I'm going to do is insert a text box inside of here. And I'm going to keep the name as text box. I'll set the background transparency to 1. And for the size, I like the size 0.669, 0, 0.117, 0. And let's set the position to 0.336, 0, 0.664, 0. And we want this respect to the center, so 0.5. And that looks nice. I feel like this is pushed a little too far, so I may, can't fix it. I'll fix it in a second. But inside of that, I'm just gonna, copy and paste this, the UI corner and the UI stroke. Let's set the UI corner to 1, 0, so it's fully rounded. UI stroke is fine, and actually I'm just going to make the background transparency 0, so I can move it a little bit, something like that. Awesome. Now that we have that, let's go down to the font face. I'm going to set for Doka 1. For the placeholder text, let's say type code here. That looks nice. And I think that should be it. Oh, let's set the text color to our base color. So if I just type testing, alright, that looks nice. After that, let's make a redeem button. So text button, let's name it redeem. And now for the properties, what I'm gonna do, actually, I just realized for this text box, should I do something like that? Alright, no, never mind. Let's just keep the text box as the anchor 1.5 and keep the original settings. For the redeem button, also for the text box, background transparency to 1. So for the redeem button, what I'm going to do is set the size to 0.238, 0, 0.107, 0. Set the position to 0.737, 0, 0.667, 0. So that placement looks nice for me. What I'm going to do is copy the UI stroke and UI corner. UI corner, I'm going to set 1, 0 just to fit this theme here. UI stroke, I'll keep that. For the font face, let's do for Doka 1. Let's set the text color to white, and we'll make it say redeem. And finally, let's make the background color a green, just like that. And so once you make this is all that we're going to do for our UI. Great, so once you are done with the UI, I'm going to start by making the codes config. So what I'm going to do is go into our replicated storage. Let's insert a new folder. I'm going to name this configs, and let's insert a new module script and name this codes. Instead of module, let's put codes. And how we're going to set up the codes is going to be similar than our daily reward system from last video. What I'm going to do is just make a new table here, and then for every single code, I'm going to make a new table, just like that. And now for every single code, it's going to have a code name, which I'm going to set the first one to welcome. It's going to have a currency, which I'm going to set to coins here, an amount, so let's reward 100 coins, and the expire time. Now for this expire time, what we're going to do is go to a website. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. But once you get to this website, this is an epoch and Unix timestamp conversion tools. So let's go to this one right here. So how our system is pretty much going to work is that for the expire time, we cannot just set like, I don't know, like November 30, for example. We have to set it in a Unix timestamp. So to turn our November 30th into a Unix timestamp, we can use this tool to do so. So for this code, for the welcome code, what I'm going to do is I will set the day, so to November, I'll set the date at 30, and I will keep the time. Let me do local time here. I'll set it to be 4 days from now, and let's hit human date to timestamp, and this will create our epoch timestamp just like that. And you'll notice that this one's a 329, this one's 325. So this is the current time. This is 4 days later. So let's just copy that and we can paste this into our expire time just like that, and that will be good. Now what I'm going to do is copy this, paste it here, and I'm going to create a new code. So I'm going to name this free gems. Let's set the currency to be gems. I'll set the amount to 50, and then for the expired date, I don't want this to ever expire. So what I'm going to do is just set it to 99999, just a really big number, because of course this is not going to ever probably happen. So this is pretty much simulating, you know, never expiring. Awesome. Now that we have done that, we have finished our code's config. Let's move on to coding this on the server side. So I think starting with the server side is better here. So what I'm going to do is insert a new server script, new script in server script service. Let's name this redeem code, and we can start coding here. So what I'm going to do is get the codes config, which I have a plugin that automatically does it for me. So we're just going to get the replicated storage and go to replicated storage.configs.codes, just like that. And now we are going to create the redeem function. So local function redeem, this will take in a player and a code that the user wants to try to redeem. So once we have this, let's make the code. So local code is string.lower code. So the reason we are turning the code into all lowercase is that, let's just say someone wanted to get the free gems here. If they type this in all capitals or all lowercase or camel case like we have here, no matter what it is, it'll just convert it into a lowercase. So no matter how you type it, it will still be considered as this code, which is really nice. But once we do that, let's check if this code is even like a code that is available. So we're going to say local found code is equal to nil. For underscore code in I-pairs, we'll loop through all of the codes. Now if string.lower c.codename is equal to code, so if we make this code lowercase and that's equal to the code that they brought in as a lowercase, what we'll do is say found code is equal to C. So we found a code and we're just going to break off. So once we find the code, you know, we don't have to keep looping through. Now if we don't have a found code, what we're going to do is return false and then just give a message. So I'm going to say invalid code, just like that. So we're going to return false and an invalid code. After that, let's check if we can still, you know, if we still have time to claim it. So let's say the current time is equal to os.time. So os.time is going to get us the epoch time. So it's going to return this time right now. So what we can do is say local current time is os.time. Now if the current time is greater than the to number of found code.expire, let's return false and say code has expired. So how this works is that if the current time is greater than the time that we have here, that means that the time is already passed. So if I had, you know, like December 1st, if I try to redeem it on December 1st, it would not work. Why? Because the current time will be greater than the found code.expire because it's on a later date. Awesome. Now that we've done that, we need to check one more. We need to check to see if the player has already redeemed it. So we're going to check if player find first child redeemed codes find first child found code.codename, then we'll return false, code already redeemed. So what we're going to do is every time the player redeems a available code and they actually redeem it, we'll make a string value and add it to the redeemed codes. So every time they try to redeem it again, we'll cross-check it with the redeemed codes to ensure they had never already redeemed it. Awesome. Now that we're done with these sanity checks, now we can actually give the player the reward. So let's get the leader stats. So player find first child leader stats. So if we have the leader stats and we can leader stats find first child found code dot currency. So if we have the leader stats and the currency that we want to give to the player is actually a currency in our game, what we're gonna do is say local currency value is equal to leader stats found code dot currency. So we'll get the currency and we will set the value of that to be, or we'll add on found code dot amount. So we're giving them the correct one. Then let's add it to our redeemed codes folder. So local redeemed code is instance.new string value. And we'll put that in the redeemed codes folder. And we'll set the name of this. Okay, redeemed code.name. So you go to found code.code name, just like that. And we gave it to the player, so let's tell the client. So return true and code redeemed successfully, just like that. Now, if we don't have leader stats and we can't find that, what we're going to do is return false and failed to give reward, just like that. Awesome. Now that we are done with the redeem function on the server, we need to find a way to give this back to the client. So we haven't coded the client yet, but while we're in the server, let's just do that. So let's create a new remote event. So in replicated storage, new folder, let's name this remote and new remote event. And I'm going to name this redeem code. What I'm going to do is go back to the top. Let's say local remotes is equal to replicated storage.remotes. And actually what I'm going to do, let's move that to the bottom. And what I'm going to do is at the bottom, we'll say remotes.redeem code on server event. We'll make a new function. We're going to get the player, which is a player, and a code, which is a string. We'll say if the type of the code is not equal to a string, then just return end. So, if something fishy is going on, we're not getting a string for the code, we're just going to return end. Now, local success message is equal to redeem player and code. So the reason we have success comma message is because every time we return something, we're returning true or false and a message. So this message will be shown in the client. So for example, if they redeem it a little too late, it'll just say code has expired in the client. Awesome. So now that we have that, we're going to fire this back to the client. So remotes redeem code fire client will pass to the player, the success, and the message, just like that. Awesome. Now that we are done with the server, let's move on to the client. So inside of starter player scripts, I'm going to insert a new local script, name that codes, and let's get started on the client side. So let's first get the replicated storage as well as the players service. We're going to get the codes module script. Actually, that is incorrect. Let me just copy that here. Actually, let's copy both of these. Paste it so we have codes and remotes. So after that, let's get the player. So players local player and the player GUI, player.player GUI. Now we need to get our desired GUI. So local GUI is player GUI, wait for child codes, and the frame, which I have right here. So it's going to be a frame. The GUI is this is the frame. It's going to be GUI.frame. Now we need to get the stuff inside of here that's important. So that's going to be the text box, the redeem, and okay, I just realized we forgot to create a text label. So let's actually just create that now. So what I'm going to do is duplicate the subtitle text. Let's name it feedback. I'm going to set the size to 0.591, 0, 0.059, 0. Just like that. And let's set the position 0.5, 0, 0.819, 0. So just underneath that. And I'm just going to set the feedback text to nothing. Or I'll just keep something there. We're going to change in the script anyway. Just make sure it's invisible. And now we have the feedback, which is awesome. So let's go back to the client. And what we're going to do is get the text box, which is frame.textbox let's get the redeem button. So that's just frame.redeem. And let's get our newly made feedback text label. So that's just frame.feedback, just like that. So once we do that, what I'm going to do is make a hookup. So redeem, redeem, mouse button one click, connect, and let's create a new function. So when they click the redeem button, we're going to call this redeem button function. And what we're going to do is just connect that here. In the redeem button function, we're just going to say local text is equal to textbox.text. So we're going to get the text that was in the text box. Textbox.text is equal to empty string. And what I'm going to do is fire the server with the text. So every time they want to hit the redeem button, we want to fire something, right? So what I'm going to do is just fire it. After that, what we can do, actually, we can add a nice little check here. So what I'm going to do is cut this. And what I'm going to do is under the textbox.text, I'm going to check if the text, the textbox dot, or I'll just say if the textbox.text is not equal to an empty string, then I'm going to fire it. Now the reason for this is because if someone were to just spam this redeem button, it will kind of, overflow the memory and all that. We don't want to keep firing. So only when the player legitimately wants to redeem a code, then we can actually fire it. So if it's not empty, then we'll fire, and then after that, we'll set the text box to empty. Awesome. After that, let's actually accept this. So remotes redeem code on client event connect function will take success, which is a boolean, and a message, which is a string. What I'm going to do is say if it was a success, then feedback.text is equal to message, and feedback.text color3 is equal to color3 from RGB and nice green. Else, so if it was not a success, feedback.text is equal to message, and feedback.text color3 will make this a nice red, just like that. After that, we need to make this visible, and what I'm going to do is task.delay. We'll wait 3 seconds, make a new function, and just set the visibility to false, just like that. So that is the client done, and we are done with the coding. So now let's test this out. So I created 2 codes, which are welcome and free gems. So let's do welcome, redeem, and code redeemed successfully, and we have 100 gems. Awesome. Let me try to redeem that again, and code already redeemed. It does not work. Now let's try the free gems, but in all capitals. So free gems, redeem, code was redeemed, we got 50 gems. Let me try to do it again. Did not work. Now let me try to do a code that we don't even have. Invalid code. Awesome. So now let me leave the game. And okay, looks like we got a little bit of an error here. Oh, okay, so it looks like I did type this wrong. So just remove a value here and let me rejoin. So I don't think it would have saved because of that error. Okay, it did. Nice. So let me type in welcome again, and code already redeemed. Free gems already redeemed, which is awesome. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.